I'm Margaret Ryan in Barcelona. I'm talking with Keya Chatterjee. She's Acting Director of the Climate Change Program, World Wildlife Fund US. Keya, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yesterday, the entire conference was riveted when the Africa group walked out of the Kyoto Protocol extension talks. Now, they eventually were wooed back later in the evening, but what effect do you see their walkout as having?
Well, in the end, I think it actually had a very positive effect. We're seeing a lot more focus on the concerns of vulnerable people now than we did 24 hours ago. So what happened was they didn't actually walk out of the Kyoto Protocol. They walked out and said, we only want to talk about the emissions reductions numbers under the Kyoto Protocol. You guys need to really focus on what's important to us as vulnerable countries. And I think it's very good to see these countries banding together in this way and forming a really strong unit of countries that are able to speak with one voice and say, you know what, we're suffering way too much. We, the vulnerable people of the world, simply need everyone else to start doing emissions reductions. And you know, when they hear in their minds that you know, developed countries saying, oh well, everyone needs to take action, they're thinking to themselves, most people in my country don't have access to energy. What are they going to do to reduce emissions? And there really is nothing they can do. They really need others to reduce emissions because they don't have emissions to reduce.
Now they were participating, and their walkout, such as it was affecting the Kyoto Protocol part of the talks. We have the parallel talks on the long-term cooperative agreement. Will it have a similar effect on those talks, do you think?
I definitely think that people were shooken up a little bit by this, and it's going to bring renewed focus and renewed attention to really trying to raise the level of ambition in both areas. So under the Kyoto Protocol, they're negotiating the next commitment period and what those Kyoto Protocol countries are going to commit to. That most definitely, clearly now, is going to be focused on what are the real reductions, what are the loopholes they're trying to build in around land cover and land use change. Are they trying to play with the numbers a little bit? And then in the other track, which is really where the United States is, I think that it's most definitely going to bring renewed attention to whether the United States is really ready to do something that's comparable to the countries that did take on commitments under the Kyoto Protocol.
Well, the U.S., now in the U.S. yesterday, we had further indication of delays or difficulty getting legislation through the Senate. Yeah. And the Africa group was saying we want hard numbers, at least 40% carbon cut commitments, and we want hard numbers for financial aid. They were talking 1.5% of GDP through 2050. What do you see, you know the U.S. perspective, what's the hope of getting anything like that out of the U.S.?
Well, I think the specific numbers that they're bringing up are negotiating positions and come from a place of deep frustration with what's been happening in the process. Since 1992, the United States has been saying, we really promise we're going to lead on this. We promise we're going to help countries that are really affected, and it hasn't materialized. And these delays that we've seen in the Senate are just further evidence to the vulnerable countries that this doesn't seem to be a priority of the United States. So what we need to see is that it really is a priority. We need those signals from throughout the U.S. government at this point. We need to hear Senate leadership saying this is a top priority issue. We understand that the world is waiting for the U.S. to act, and they've been waiting for many, many years, and so we're going to take this seriously and move. And we need to hear the White House saying that much more clearly, that this is absolutely a top priority issue, and that they're dedicated to getting something done in Copenhagen.
Today's the first anniversary of President Obama's election. You think that he hasn't been clear enough or out in front enough about this?
Well, I think that there is a lot more that the administration could be doing to send the right signals to the Senate. Certainly, President Obama was a senator himself not too long ago, and so we'd definitely like to see them talking more to the Senate about the international process, what the things are in the Senate process that need to happen in order for this process to be a success, and vice versa. talking here about what needs to happen here in order for the Senate process to be a success. So our goal is to get success. We'd certainly like to hear a very clear signal that this is the top priority issue, that there aren't going to be any issues that come after health care before climate change. Because if there are, then again, we're sending the signal to the world that we're not really taking their concerns seriously.
Okay. Then one of the issues raised, I believe, by the chair of the G77 yesterday was the public versus private financing issue.
Yeah.
And he said, no, we do not, we want to see that 1.5% of GDP or whatever the financial aid is. We don't trust markets. We don't want you to say part of that's public financing and part of it's private. We want it all public financing, all from the government.
Yeah.
And obviously, neither the European Union nor the U.S. have plans. All of their discussions are about combinations of public and private financing. Is that another impasse looming out there?
I don't think it's an impasse. I think that there is a lot of agreement coming together around finance. So at the last UN climate meetings in Bangkok, just a few weeks ago, the US put forward a proposal on financial institutions that got a little bit of traction and got us a little bit of forward momentum. Just a few days ago, we had the EU announcing a financial package where they talked about the total scale of need and their desire to contribute their part. This public versus private question is something that I think there's actually more agreement on than we know. A lot of this is language issues. So I think that everyone here would agree that we absolutely need to leverage private sector finance. In order to have a global clean energy economy, we need the private sector to be a really, really important role, to play a really important role. So what we hear a lot from the developed countries is a lot of discussion of that private finance and almost nothing about the public finance that is critical in order to leverage that private finance. So you need to create the enabling conditions, you need to do some capacity building, and you need to fund things that are going to result in the long-term emissions reductions that we need. On the other hand, you see the developing countries really focus only on the public finance. And honestly, that is where the focus should be, because that is really where we're missing action right now. We need more public finance. The private sector is all lined up and ready to go. What we see here in the negotiations and even at home is that the private sector are pushing for a legally binding agreement in Copenhagen. They're pushing to get the right investment signals so that the renewable energy and energy efficiency sectors can really take off, and they are really ready to go. It's the public finance that we're missing right now in order to really spark that clean energy economy.
Okay. Well, have you seen other areas has there been any progress in the last couple days? Are there areas that look really hopeful to you?
I think that there, at a political level, has been a lot of progress in the last 2 days. Parties are much more focused now than they were 24 hours ago. There's nothing like a crisis to bring people's attention to the matter. So in that sense, things are going very well, people are very focused, and things are moving forward. In terms of actual progress towards Copenhagen, we saw a lot of progress even before this meeting started. In the months and weeks ahead of time, we've had heads of state making statements at the UN General Assembly and other heads of state forums. There's been, since July, almost on a daily basis, a head of state or ministerial level, a cabinet level conversation about climate change. So we've seen a lot of momentum coming in. Just before this meeting, there was a meeting called the Greenland Dialogue, which was convened by Denmark, and in that context there was a lot of progress made as well. So we're definitely seeing a whole lot of progress, and now we're seeing renewed attention thanks to a little crisis.
Okay, Keya Chatterjee, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
I'm Margaret Ryan in Barcelona, Clean Skies News.